I'm Roberto Castro, and this is the Course Record Show. The trends, technology, and strategy driving the business of golf. All right, welcome back to the Course Record Show. Joining me today is Hally Leadbetter. Hally was an All-American college golfer, but chose a career in golf media, where she's done work for Golf Digest, the USGA, the Masters, and more. But recently started two businesses. One focused on marketing and content, the other a food product for the golf course. Hally, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
So we'll get to your background eventually, but I want to jump right into the two businesses you started. The first is called Better Co. It's a creative agency, production studio focused on golf. You're about a year and a half into that project. Why set up your own shop versus continue to work for some really well-established, well-known brands? What was the motivation to do that?
Yeah, it's funny because for me, I realize that I really love being on camera. I do. But what I also really love is just being a part of the creative process. And I found myself really wanting to be a part of that. So sure, I love to show up, throw up a teleprompter. I'm happy to be there, get in, get out. But I really got a lot of fulfillment from getting in on the ground floor and then working with a team to ideate around the concept and then bringing that to life. And then listen, if I can be of service and make the product better by being on camera, absolutely would love to do it. But I still got just as much satisfaction, or I do get just as much satisfaction as just bringing something to life that didn't exist before. So I was actually how I met my business partner for Better Co. was we were working on a project for Golf Pass. It was called a show called Better Off with Hally Leadbetter. We made a lot of funny sketches and got to do some fun field pieces. And him and I started chatting and we're like, hey, I think we have a special skill set. Like we're able to speak this language of golf. And there's so many brands, as you know, that are looking to get into the golf space, or brands that are in the golf space and trying to figure out how to speak to this new wave of golfers.
Yeah.
So we're like, maybe I think we could do that. So we set up shop about a year and a half ago, and it has been so much fun to work with brands, not only on the actual production side of things, but kind of what I mentioned before, but like the actual creative, like what are you trying to do here? What is the ultimate goal of this piece of content or this campaign? And how can we help you bring that to life?
So I want to ask about what you said there, reaching this new wave of golfers. So some of your clients, are they trying to reach, I'd call legacy endemic golfers, or are they trying to reach the new, like one way to say it is like golf bro, right? Untucked shirt, like,
Yeah.
where do you specialize and what do you think is actually like resonating with these people? I mean, YouTube golf is a big one, but like if I'm a brand and I want to reach, the industry is, 30, 40, 50% bigger than it was 5 years ago. I want to reach that delta, those new people. How do I do it?
I think a lot of it is through social media. I mean, that's why you see a lot of brands building out their social teams, putting a lot of money into production. The irony being is that a lot of stuff that performs is kind of lo-fi, right? So you
Yeah.
have to find a mix of like maintaining your brand voice and maybe the aesthetic that your brand is known for, but at the same time knowing that, hey, on TikTok, a cell phone video that of behind the scenes of your commercial with Insta Professional Golfer here, it's probably going to do better than if you take your linear television commercial and just try to put it in a different dimension and think that's going to pop off on social.
Yeah.
News for you, it's probably not. So it's this new wave, and also it's a lot of women. Like right now, granted, the most of the spending power is the traditional, older white male with maybe a good amount of income that they're willing to throw at golf. But at the same time, when you're thinking of new potential golfers, the largest growing demographic of golfers is young women, and they are looking for clubs. They're looking for apparel. They're looking for events. We're seeing a huge uptick in-person events, which I think people are just craving to have that community. So I'd say a lot of brands are looking to speak to women, which is really exciting too.
All right, back to Better Co. So
Yes.
Omaha Productions is Peyton and Eli Manning's production company. Maybe for the listeners, like, A, was that an inspiration for you? And then B, like, what is a production company? Like, I honestly kind of learned through them because it was like, oh, this is produced by Omaha, and now I kind of get what's possible here. So was it an inspiration, or like how would you
Yes.
explain what you and Andrew focus on at Better Co?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's 100% an inspiration. Like my inspiration has always been like the Mannings or like Oprah or any of these people that are you know, can kind of I don't want to say like stand alone, but basically they have their own personal brand and then they're able to leverage that to drive business to their business, if you will. So that was kind of my inspiration. And I'm basically I'm trying to do that in the golf space, right? So it's still important for me to go do my thing and you know be on camera and I enjoy that. But how can I simultaneously then leverage that
Yeah.
to drive business to Better Co? So yes, definitely an inspiration. But a production company is basically a company that you hire to put everything together when it comes to a piece of content. So whether it's,
Okay.
I mean, you have something for everything, whether it's live events or it's movies or it's social content, like what goes into a production and it can really vary, right? Like we talk to clients all the time that'll be like, well, how much does that cost? It's like, well, how much do you want to spend, right? There's different variables. You know, you could say, hey, I got because I think some people don't understand how much things cost when it comes to production, right? And that's why Andrew, my business partner, who I've learned so much through over the years, he was a producer at Comedy Central. He produced Tosh.0, was at does a lot of work for NBC. And so he's taught me a lot about like how because I call myself a producer, but it's kind of like calling yourself a professional golfer. Like, okay, but like how much money did you make and like what tour did you play like
Right.
so it's always really interesting to and I'm learning more and more every day about like how much things cost and that's why I go back to what I said at the beginning where it's like when companies are like hey we want to create a bunch of social content and it's like all right well you might be better off if we just create a like a kick-ass campaign for you and then we deliver it to your internal social team and they may be fully capable of executing this with
Sure.
that you don't need a whole film crew you don't need the
Sure.
big fancy cameras and whatnot so I think that's how kind of how our business works is we act as like a creative agency so and then we help you ideate and create the campaign itself and then from there if it's hey it's something that we'll price out differently as like hey we'll take on the production and now we're going to go create it but it's a two-phase thing so like once
Yeah.
we make the idea we create the ideas those ideas are yours then you can decide to engage with us again if you want us to actually produce it
Okay.
or it's someone on your team already or maybe someone in your area that we could work with to to facilitate the production as opposed to our team doing it so we
Yeah.
kind of have like this two-stage approach.
That's interesting. Two things there.
Yeah.
One, the producer role and or title is fascinating. So at TGL, my boss is the analyst is Jeff Newbarth, who produces the show. I'm
I had a
equally
call with him
Did you?
yesterday.
Well,
Yeah, I love that.
Jeff is the best, but I am equally impressed with his ability, the creative side of his brain that brings this crazy golf concept to life. Like he has an
Yes.
excellent creative skills. But you're talking
Yeah.
about the other side of the brain, like managing budgets, figuring out
Oh,
like
yeah.
hourly rates and how many cameras, like there's a ton of like actual blocking, tackling, logistics,
Totally.
finance. Like there's a
Totally.
whole different side of it. And I think it's fascinating that the
Yeah.
producer does both of those. And it's the same like PGA Championship. The ESPN guys of the world, like, yeah, they sit down in the chair and they drive the creative, but they're also managing the whole business of bringing it to life. It's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like a producer can really fall anywhere on that scale, right? It's like they may, and ideally, like you're perfectly in the middle.
Yeah.
But I feel very lucky to have someone like Andrew, so I can go off and like I'm again much more of like the creative gal. I found that I generally at my highest level of contribution is very much the beginning of the process and the
Yep.
ideation and then at the end of the process because I am a stickler for making decks aesthetically pleasing and
Yep.
punctuation and all those things and then Andrew and the rest of our team they're the ones in the nuts and bolts like okay what's the budget what are the margins how many people can we do this and that and the other so yeah there's so many different parts and to your point like a producer has to kind of
Yeah.
have all those different things firing.
Yeah. Well, one of the TGL matches, the Hawk and their whole crew was there shooting, and it was an unbelievable, a typical TGL match is a hell of a production. Add in a Netflix show. They were shooting
Oh,
during the commercial breaks
yes,
on
that's
the,
what I heard.
it
That's what I
was,
heard.
it
It was
was absolutely
crazy.
wild. So,
Yeah.
on the business side, a lot of what you mentioned, I relate to, as being in the consulting industry, very
Yes.
similar. Is there anything like recurring revenue for something like Better Co? Obviously, you're living project to project. I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But can you get a client that, has a longer term contract, or like, hey,
Yeah.
we're on retainer? What does that look like?
Love a retainer. No, and honestly, it's funny because going back to what I said before about like, you work with a client, or you have a conversation with a client, and they say, how much is it going to cost? And then you say, well, how much do you want to spend? And so it's kind of, you almost have to start, you have to, it's hard to do, but like flip this switch in the client or potential client's mind and be like, hey, like ultimately the idea is where is honestly the most valuable part of the work that we do. Like
Yeah.
every single person that we work with has an very, very high golf IQ.
Yeah.
And so we are intimately integrated and know the golf industry inside and out. Like that is our calling card. Now the production side of things, there are production companies all over the country. And so we do that, and we're very good at it.
So
So
will you structure an engagement to be like in my brain, it's like strategy and then implementation. You will do
exactly.
client work
Yes.
that's the strategic and creative, and like that could be the end of it.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So for example, like we work closely with Callaway.
Yeah.
And on a lot of their social content. And that for us is a dream partnership and a dream scenario, because it allows us, because we are on their team for we have a recurring meetings, but because we have that retainer model with them, we are able to set aside the hours a week that it takes to
Yeah.
just sit down and think,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, because a lot of times what you get is, again, we'll bring us the idea and we'll see if we like it, and then we'll go from there. It's like, well, no, the idea is the
Right.
thing, you guys.
Yeah.
And so that takes a real switch in people's brains, and we feel incredibly lucky, for Callaway to have recognized that, and to be really just a part of their team, and to be able to have that back and forth. Because also, the more that we can go back and forth and get integrated with your team, the better work that we can do for our clients. So that is our ideal model, and that's what we have found has worked the best as well.
Okay. Well, you're on camera, you have the content, creative, and production. I have a friend who says that it's similar to being a professional golfer. I've had the question, what does it mean to turn pro? It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You just say, so I have a friend who says, if you want to be an agency, you just need one client. If you have one client, you're now an agency, right?
Yeah.
Food product, your second business, Bunchies, is a product company, right?
Yes.
So that's a very different deal. You can't just you can't just sell one protein bar and now you're a product company. So how did you end up in the food business? And I'm coming in pretty cold here. Like, how do you find a commercial kitchen? How do you get your product approved? How do you tell me about, you have this idea. How do you bring it to life?
Yes. Yeah. So it was an idea that I had about 5 years ago. We go to a lot of golf courses, and I was just like, man, why isn't there a healthy snack that I know that's going to be at every single golf course? I'm like praying for like a Nature Valley bar or Cliff bar. And then ultimately, okay, I thought about like, okay, what would that be? And I thought about, these energy balls. And so a couple of years go by, I had done a lot of the stuff that like I like to do, which is the creative. But then I kind of was hitting a wall when it came to the actual, to your point, distributors and packaging and shelf life and all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know exactly. I'm way out of my depth here. So I was actually doing a turkey trot with Amanda Balionis, and I was telling her, I was like, I think I'm just going to put it aside. Like, I really should just focus on my other stuff I've got going on. And she's like, listen, before you do, I want to connect you with my friend Alex. He owns a food consulting group. It might just be worth having a conversation. So I was like, all right. So hop on the phone with this guy. And this is like, lo and behold, this is what he does. Like, this is in the same way that you and I could be like, who should I call about blah, blah, blah in the golf industry? And so and so would be good for that. Like, he's like, oh, Jerry in Grand Rapids has got the machinery that can make balls. Like, how would I know how to call Jerry in Grand Rapids? So it ended up being like this perfect partnership. And we, started this company together, and then spent all of 2025 doing all the things that you need to do to bring that to life, which is, the 20 iterations of the ball, working with a food scientist. Ended up reaching out to, I'm sure you've probably been, or to Bandon, and they have their own Bandon energy balls there. And obviously the golf industry is so small. So I wanted to reach out to the Kaiser family, Dream Golf, just to be like, hey, I'm doing this. Wanted to put it on your radar. Just make sure, see if there's, I don't know if you want to get involved in some capacity. And obviously they do so well for them. So Chris Kaiser became one of our investors, which was
Cool.
huge. And we launched at the PGA show, and the response has just been incredible. I mean, Pebble Beach, they've sold out, I think 4 or 5 times now. We just got into Golf Galaxy, all 110 locations. And it's funny because, like, on the surface level, Better Co and Bunchies seem to be like very, very different, and they are. However, I have found that, like, my role in the two companies are very, very similar.
Yeah.
So that sort of enables, like, so my partner at Better Co, Andrew, he does, like I said, the nuts and bolts, takes care of like the real nitty gritty production stuff, as well as Brianna Solar, a production manager, project manager. And then on the Bunchies side of things, Alex takes care again of the nitty gritty day to day, and his whole company, he has a company called Lasagna Box. They focus, on everything that a food company would need.
I'm curious about Alex and Lasagna Box. So
Yes.
does he have like a portfolio of companies that he's a co-investor in, or is he work for hire? Like, how does his business work?
Yeah, so he started in like the sauce side of things. So he made like Mike's
Sauce
Hot
guy.
Honey.
Everyone needs a sauce guy.
Sauce guy. Everyone's a sauce guy. So him and another guy named Matt Stargell and Zach Thompson, Alex's brother, they all came from like sauce world. And then they sold that business and started Lasagna Box, which is a food consulting company. And their biggest client is Patty's Good Life, which is
Okay.
Patty LaBelle's company out of Walmart. They're at Walmart, and they do like 200 million a year in sweet potato pies. So this is his, no pun intended, but bread and butter when it comes to factories and, food distributors and getting, shipping pallets of whatnot, something that I would have literally no clue about.
Yeah.
It was really kind of a wild way how it came about, because I was very much just like kind of not going to do it anymore, because I was like, I don't have the bandwidth right now to go try to figure out where to store pallets of energy balls. But then when I told Amanda, she was like, wait 2 seconds, talk to this guy. And then here we are.
I love that you're doing a turkey trot with Balionis, and she's like, I got a guy who's big in sauces and sweet potato pies.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Could be someone you want to talk to. That's exactly tremendous story.
Yeah, no.
Hally, this has been a great conversation. I think 2 things really jump off the page that you're very, very good at, and you've leaned into them. One, bringing people together and putting the deals together. I think that's really inspiring. I think I have good ideas and want to do various things. You have to bring other people along, right? You've got to put the deal together. And the second is, leaning into your superpower, which for you is the creative side, the sales side, the marketing side. Not trying to be everything to all people, but bringing around people that can complement your skills, and then focusing on your own. So 2 really, really great traits to have. I'm super bullish on your businesses. So,
I appreciate that.
I mean it. In closing, what are you excited about? Give me a Better Co project you're excited about, or big news with Bunchies and all the Golf Galaxy stores. But what else do I not know about?
Oh man, well, I'm excited about the Will Ferrell show, The Hawk. It's doing well.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to, because I saw some of the filming. So yes, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm really pumped about that. I'm, knock on wood, we'll see if we get a season 2, but I would be pumped. I mean, that experience was just the best experience of my life professionally, hands down. So still very excited about that. And for Bunchies, I'm really excited about, it's super interesting for me, because I've had a lot of friends that have a lot of experience in the retail side of golf, but it didn't really occur to me. And I always say this, that I am so glad that I was not aware of a lot of these things that I am now aware of, because I think it would have really intimidated me when
Yeah.
it comes to like how to scale a CPG company, because it didn't even occur to me that like, you think about a clothing brand and they generally have a rep, and they're East Coast rep, and they go to Maidstone and say, which shirts would you like this season? Well,
Yep.
food doesn't really work like that. Like food, ideally, you could reach out to a head pro or a GM or whatever, but ultimately they're going to pass it off to their F&B team, and then their F&B team ideally would order it via a food distributor when they get all their other stuff, like a US Foods or a
Cisco.
Cisco or
Yeah.
a Katie Brother. And I'm like, and so that was a really interesting process trying to figure all that out. And
So
I am
how do you
excited.
deliver? Do you deliver direct ship or do you go through Cisco US food
Right
distributors?
now, we deliver direct,
Yeah.
but we are about to be listed with Cisco and US Foods. And
Huge.
that's fascinating
Yeah.
because for them to take us on, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg. It's not their responsibility to create demand for your product, but you have to prove that there's demand before they take you on.
Yep.
And that has been a back and forth song and dance. And we're very excited. We had one of our investors and a couple properties put in good words for us with these companies. And so I'm really excited about getting listed with them in the next couple of weeks,
That's
because
huge.
that'll enable all of the golf courses across the country to very quickly order us, as opposed to, it's pretty easy now, but in order for them just to be like, oh yeah, I need more bunchies, as opposed to like having to log into our portal. Blah, blah, blah. So I'd say I'm very, very excited about that. And again, that didn't even cross my mind when I was originally like, oh, I should make an energy ball.
No, that was actually on my questions list because Captech has done some work with the food distributor, and I sat next to the client at dinner, and it's a fascinating business. The routes and the trucks, and then the digital part to see what we were sitting at a steakhouse, and he was like, "Oh, I can actually see what we've delivered to the steakhouse in the last 2 days," and he's like, "Oh, 4 boxes of potatoes." Like,
Yeah.
look, it's just crazy. Like every business is fascinating once you start digging deep enough.
Oh,
So.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hallie, great conversation. Thanks for joining the Course Record Show. I will be looking for bunchies at the turn, and I'll be looking for. I have to watch the Hawk. That's on my to do.
Yes, yes, you
So
got to watch the Hawk and let me know. Keep an eye out for episode 6. You might see someone familiar in there.
okay,
So
awesome.